I've been teaching myself 3D modeling while running 2 businesses. It's been a little while since I've taken you along with me for a week in the business. So let's do this week vlog style and I will show you exactly what I've been up to. Teaching myself 3D modeling with absolutely no background in design has been a lot harder than I initially expected. Not impossible, but it is definitely discouraging sometimes. For sure, it's harder than people on YouTube make it. Hi, I'm Ashley, and I have built a 6-figure bakery from my home. Now I'm taking the skills that I learned to build that business and build a 3D printing business, something that requires less hands-on than a bakery, but can also bring in the money. And I'm taking you along with me on this journey so that you too can build the business that you want. Today, I want to talk honestly about what it's actually been like learning to 3D model from scratch and show you what I've been up to. So let's get into it. First, let's talk a little bit about the 3D modeling side of things. What has surprised me is how much of modeling isn't necessarily creativity, it's problem solving. Understanding the constraints of the software, how to think about everything in terms of measurements just in millimeters, making sure that I'm working in the right measurements within the software, fixing broken designs. They might work in the software, but they don't actually then work when I go to print them, and realizing that one little mistake can affect the entire design. It's really different because you're not just drawing shapes, you're actually creating the logic behind something. And this was unexpected because for me, it's so different from what I do in the bakery. I can put together a cake and I can see that cake through the entire process. I know how that cake is going while I'm building it. So I have a reasonable expectation of what it's going to turn out to be like in the end. But when I'm designing a 3D model, I might think that I have it right all the way along, only to get to the end and realize that somewhere I made a mistake and it's not going to transition from the computer to the 3D printer. And this is where YouTube makes it look so much easier than it actually is. All the tutorials are really clean, they're efficient, they're edited, whereas real modeling is none of those things. I'm constantly pausing the YouTube videos and rewinding them. As somebody who typically listens to YouTube videos at 1.25x speed, I'm actually even watching these tutorials at 0.5 to 0.75 speed because I really need to slow down to see exactly what they're doing on the screen. Some of the terminology can be tough to understand for somebody who has zero background in CAD. Now, when I'm watching different tutorials, I don't have to worry about those first few minutes where they're explaining things because I have a basic understanding, at least at this point, of how Blender functions. And I also have learned that I don't need to know everything right away. I have an understanding of a lot of the hotkeys and how to do really basic things. And hopefully these basics will allow me to start down the road of more customizable products, which will lead to more profitable prints in my business. The biggest thing I think they don't talk about in the tutorials is that learning to make the simplest thing can take hours. The tutorial itself might be 10 minutes, but you're watching that tutorial 15 times just to get all of the different things that they talk about.
Okay, so here we go, printing my very first 3D model. I have modeled a couple things until this point. I started with the donut tutorial and then I was working on a robot, but this is the very first thing that I am printing. And if you can't tell by this, probably can't, it's just an ice cream cone. And I'm really hoping that the bottom will go into the top, and I did that properly. When it prints, it's obviously not huge, so I'm printing it. I don't need it to be huge. It's just for me to be able to say, hey, look, I made this, and then I printed it. The satisfaction of actually seeing this print, knowing that I made it, is pretty incredible. So now let's skip ahead to how this turned out and get back to what we were talking about with modeling.
They don't really account, obviously, for the confusion and how many times you might have to redo something, because nobody would watch the video if they were having to account for that. But now, after a few weeks of consistent early mornings waking up to do this, something that maybe took me an hour to understand before, I can get through in about 15 minutes.
And sadly, the moment of truth really stunk.
So I might be stacking the skills slowly, but at least I'm stacking them. And I know that this is going to lead me to be able to build these customs for people in the future and to build them a lot faster and to have a true understanding of how that item is designed so that I can tinker it however I want. And this will really differentiate me from my competitors out in the market. I know that right now is the really uncomfortable phase of all of this, but I understand that, and I know the long-term payoff is going to be worth it.
One of the things I really needed to do post holiday rush was get this room tidied up. You can see half the room is my kids' toy room, half is the 3D printing room. And it took me about a day to really get in here, get everything organized, and clear this whole shelf off, give me some workspace. And now everything will just flow better and be way easier to work with since it's tidied up. For this next part, I want you to step into the bakery with me for a minute because you've probably heard me talk about the custom labels that I make and how I make them with my MUNBYN thermal printer. And I'm so happy to say that MUNBYN heard my plea for a Bluetooth model and sent me one of their 130B printers, along with some great pink labels and some more 4x6 labels, which is perfect timing as I happen to be almost out of them. So let's get this unboxed and set up as I have a whole lot of labels that need printing for the bakery, especially for Valentine's Day. We're unpacked and ready to go. You can see my old printer on the right and the new printer here on the left. I'm so happy that they sent me pink again. It goes really well in my bakery, which is where I keep it. And I am just going to get my labels fed into here. I love this new one actually opens from the front. The old model opened from the side, and I much prefer this front opening. So we're going to get it just fed in here. And another really awesome feature of this new one is that it auto calibrates. The old one, I had to push the button on top every time I would feed a different size or shaped label into it to make it calibrate to the label. And this new one does it on its own. So that is just a really extra special bonus feature, I think. So let's jump into the app here because of course the Bluetooth feature is the thing I wanted the most. And you can see that there are tons of custom labels already made up. There's actually thousands in here. There's so many different layouts for you to choose from that makes it so easy to just get going on this. Even if you need to make price tags, if you're selling your 3D prints in stores, then you can easily print out something with a price tag to be able to put on to your box or whatever packaging you use and go. They make it so easy to get started within their app with all the different layouts that they have. I, however, put in a couple of my labels that I have custom made. I make all of my labels just through Canva. You can do it in there for free. It's really easy to do. And I have already put a couple on my phone so that I could test out the ones that I need to make. So I'm going to pull up the ones that I need here for a treat box. I just need a few more of them printed off. So we're going to go in and we're going to prepare it print. Going to select the label size. These ones are 2.25 by 1.25 that I use for this. Going to flip it to make sure that the orientation is right so that it actually prints on the full size of the label, and just check the settings, and then I'm going to go through and hit print. And you can see just how quickly these labels come out. I love how these came out. So this new printer has something called dithering mode, and look at the way that my logo turned out on this is the old labels versus the new labels, and it actually shows the outline that is on my logo, and it just looks so good. You don't have to just use this through Bluetooth. You can, of course, hook it up through the USB cable that it comes with. That's typically how I've always used my MUNBYN up until this point. And it does still give you that option, of course, too. For those who ship, I just want to quickly show you how nicely the shipping labels come out. I'm going to use their sample label because then I don't have to worry about blacking out any of my customers' pertinent details. So I have the 4x6 labels set up here. I use this specific holder that I have actually purchased separately off of Amazon. I've used it for years because I use different size labels. I want to be able to have them both set up at the same time. So we're just going to go in. This is now using the USB cord through the computer, and we'll hit print, and I will just show you when it comes out exactly how it looks, because you see that it comes out not only super quick, but that you get really good print details details on those labels. And again, just really, really economical in terms of being able to get those shipping labels printed. Of course, finally, we will print some labels for the 3D printing business because I am almost out of these ones. I make these custom made with care labels and put them onto everything that gets picked up from the house so that I can write my customer's name on them. When they open up the cabinet on my porch, they're able to easily identify their order. And most of my orders are done by pickup this way. So I always like to keep at least a couple dozen of them printed so that I have them easily to grab and get onto those purchases. One of the things that I just really love about the MUNBYN printer is that it's thermal, which means that it doesn't require any ink. It puts that image onto the label with heat, so it makes the labels cost pennies each. I do still print really nice labels sometimes, especially for more expensive orders in the bakery, but every single thing I print in here, I use the MUNBYN printer, and 98% of what I print in the bakery, I use it as well because it's just so much cheaper. I love that I can make any label that I need within a minute and have it ready to go. So the MUNBYN really makes it so much easier to work with. If you're interested in grabbing one of these, I will leave a link below in the description of this video just so that you can check it out and see all of the details. So I hope then that you're able to use these labels to help you with your overall branding and presentation of your business, because after all, providing that excellent quality customer service is what's going to stand us apart from everybody else out there. Just wrapping up what has been really crazy for me, especially because of the bakery this week, but I was working on this custom hype chain. This is actually a small size one that's going to be used as a bag tag for this baseball team. And I was making them this sample so that they're going to be able to see just how awesome it looks. And they were very excited to get it. And I printed a ton of these little tiny Snoopies because they actually went into all of my kids' treat boxes in the bakery, which is one of my most popular items for Valentine's Day.
If you're learning something new right now and it feels slower than expected, that's normal. Drop a comment below and tell me exactly what skill that is that you're working on. Thank you so much for joining me this week in the 3D printing business. And if you want to continue with real, honest business building content, please hit that like. It really helps out my small channel. And don't forget to subscribe so that you'll get notified when future videos come out. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, happy printing.